Here we are in the process of installing the ETFE film on the front. So you want to do this front before you do the top, and you want to start with the top strip here. And this is important to have 1 or 2 assistants. 1 would be the minimum and 2 would be nice if it's available, to help stretch the film while you put in the screws. So the strips are meant to be staggered. This top strip doesn't go all the way over to be flush with this lumber. It goes an inch away, and so you put this side strip up on the top, kind of like how bricks are staggered. So you want to make sure to remove the adhesive backing off first before you lay the strips down. And you'll notice that the pre-drilled holes where the screws go are offset. They're not directly in the center of the strip. That's because most of the lumber that's screwed into is 3/4 inch wide. And so make sure to put the pre-drilled holes on the outside of the perimeter all the way around. When installing the screws, you want to make sure that you are applying the correct pressure. You want there to be pressure on the weather stripping, but not so much that it's like obvious bowing. A little bowing is probably great, but not too much bowing. So you'll see as the screw makes contact with the HDPE, it will press in a little bit because the weather stripping is obviously soft. You'll want to use some extra lumber or something to prop up the box for stretching at the very end on the bottom. So here is just a look at how your helper can stretch the ETFE film to minimize as many wrinkles as possible. So here we are done with this end. And at this bottom corner, we didn't need to cut this strip, and we didn't need to cut this strip, but we did cut this one strip. And you can use a hacksaw or an angle grinder if you have it to do that. The exact amount you'll need to cut off will depend on your installation, but it might be an inch or 2. So the tension when installed is pretty nice, but it will lose some of that tension once it's outdoors for a little while. So if you ever want to retension it, instead of cutting off the excess film, we just tucked it over and used a little bit of tape. It can be just any kind of tape to tape it, and then the sides will cover that excess, the sides and the top HDPE here. If in the process of installation you see wrinkles going this way, for example, and you already did this side, you can back out these screws, pull a little bit in this direction, and reset these. So here we are finished with the installation of the ETFE. You're going to want to start on the end, and for this it's helpful to have a stool, which is not there at the moment. And then you would work back and forth, coming down here, and then this strip here would be the last one. And you want it to overhang and cover the top of the strip underneath. And so because of that, you're going to want the pre-drilled screw holes on the inside, which this would be the only one like that. So the screws can actually get into the wood here. So you're going to want to be careful in general that you don't drop a tool on the film, like a screwdriver. It could puncture or damage the film. So you'll notice when you see the strips that some are longer than others. And so the long strips would generally go spanning the width of the box. So one here, two here, one down here, And the short ones would go, like say, 2 on the side of the front, 2 on the other side of the front. But on the top, you can use 2 short ones at first, but then you're going to use 2 long ones and 2 more long ones, and then you'll cut the ends to fit. You can, if your assistant is short on time, you can install just every other screw, and then later, soon later, you can come back and put in the remaining screws. Using the 3/16 by 1 1/4 inch fender washer, along with the regular 1 1/4 inch long screw we've been using, you can attach the rigid foam insulation to the sides of the structure, just making sure you leave a 3/4 inch exposed portion of the foam on the front, back, and top. Of course, not on the bottom. Here you can see I didn't install all of the screws and washers yet. You can use up all of the fender washers in that size, and you can put as many as you want. So I have attached 4 of these black shelf brackets, 1 in that corner, 1 in this corner, and 2 near the door on the floor. You can put 4 more, basically 1 in this corner, 1 in this corner, and then 2 up near the ceiling. And they're a little too big. They're at least 1.5 inches wide. They should be a little bit narrower, but because we're going to put soft weather stripping from the frames kind of over them, I think it'll be okay. You can put more screws in, of course. Okay, so for the door, you can measure side to side, maybe near the top, maybe near the bottom, and vertically, and you can cut out your piece of foam. You can paint the edges later. You see here they're painted, but then you can take a pen and go inside the box and put the door inside, and then you're going to want to trace the inside of this board and the other one. And you can see here, maybe you can see here faintly, there's a little line here. So you're going to want to place these 1x2 strips 1/8 of an inch or so to the inside, just so it's not too tight of a fit, so you can get it on fairly easily. And the dimensions for these 1x2s, I think it should be 47.5. It should be in the instructions. But you're going to want to have them toward the top of the door. That way, if when you actually are using the box and your turf or your grass is either bumpy or too thick, you can trim a little foam off of the bottom to make it easier to put your door on. So you've traced these marks, and then you want to put these 1x2s on. So you can just hold your door, and with one hand you can hold these 1x2s here, and then you can screw it on one end, flip it over, do the other, and do the other side. And then you can add more screws with washers as well, of course. Then on the opposite side, you can choose a place pretty much anywhere, whatever's convenient for you, roughly in the middle. And you can just put these barrel bolts, pretty much flush with the outside edge on both sides, just making sure that the little slots are downward. And then once you have that done, you can put the door, you can go inside the box, put the door back on and take a pen and just make some marks around the barrel bolt itself. You can slide it out as far as it can, go up to that board, make some marks around it so you know where it's gonna go. And then you'll take a drill bit, bigger than the barrel bolt. Let's see, right, and drill basically through, or at least partially of the way through, so it can easily fit there. And then for the hooks, for the rubber bands, you can use this type of hook. I got it from Lowe's, but just a regular 1 11/16 ceiling hook is probably better, because this is a little more challenging to get the rubber band over it. But you can place you actually only need 2. I had 4 here. I had 2 down toward the bottom and 2 at the top, but you can just do 2 in the middle. And I'd recommend placing the ones on the door first, because the 1x2 is pretty narrow. So you can put 1 here and 1 on the other side, and then you can put its complement in over here. And like I did, you can screw it in so tight that the rubber band can't fall out, because you're going to want it to just stay there. And these are UV stable rubber bands, so they should last for a while, although I can send extras if needed.